I will also point out that Coach Elliott was at volleyball on Sunday supporting the program.
Shannon's been very, very supportive of me and kind of came in around the same time. But after every game, regardless of the result, she's always texting me. So shout out to Shannon and volleyball's big win. So it was fun to watch. Great turnout too in JPJ. So it was awesome to see.
Biggest crowd ever.
Mm-hmm.
Opening statement?
No.
That was it. Halloween.
So how soon upon returning to Charlottesville Saturday night did you see what was happening in the Georgia Tech Carolina game, and what was your reaction when you saw the total yardage for Georgia Tech?
Before returning to Charlottesville on the plane, sitting next to Coach Kitchens, he was looking at some of the scores and just kind of didn't say much, just tapped my shoulder and showed me his phone. And it was like, okay, all right. But it doesn't surprise me because Tech's been putting up a lot of yards and scoring a lot of points all season versus everybody that they've played. Didn't until you watch it, you don't get the feel of the game. But man, they really came alive in the fourth quarter and really took over the fourth quarter. And I think they scored 22 points and had 220 plus yards rushing, and really kind of took over the game. Up to that point, it was back and forth, but early on, kind of North Carolina was kind of having some success both sides of the ball. They hit a couple big plays, kept it close, and then got it to the fourth and just took over the game.
The veteran leadership you guys have, how important has it been this year when you're 2-6 and things could spiral, to have guys that are trying to keep the locker room together? Malik,
right.
You're older guys who have been here for a while.
Right. You point out, being 2-6 and losing the 4 games by 10 points. I don't think without your I'm not going to say that I'm that good of a coach to say that it's all us and the coaching staff, but it's really the players in the locker room, and they continue to be bought in, and they continue to take ownership for the opportunities that we've let get away, and man, they're eager to come back and work day in and day out. They've accepted the challenge. So without strong leaders in the locker room, you wouldn't see a team continue to compete regardless of what the circumstances are.
In the game against Miami, there was one defensive drive. You saw 4 true freshmen on that side of the ball, including Caleb Hardley. What have you seen from that class, and especially Caleb and their development and their contributions? Yeah,
and I tried to give Rudd some context because obviously, 54 plays. Thought they did a good job of just, holding up versus the run and the pass, and, came down to a situation where, just came up short in the last play, right? But overall, with the challenges that they've had on that side of the ball, with the several of the top guys going down and forcing young guys to step in, what I think it's done is it's obviously allowed some of the guys that are playing a lot of snaps to be able to feel, that a little bit of confidence to know that, hey, we got somebody that can go in and spell me when I need a play or two. But with those guys, I think what you're seeing is just their belief in the program and why they came to UVA to have an opportunity to contribute and get on the field. What you're seeing is that, man, it's happening fast, but they're absorbing it. They're showing up every day, going to work and creating competition too. And in some of those situations, it's been more, by attrition, but also a couple of those situations it's been because they put in the work and they're at a point now where they can truly compete and push the person in front of them.
Chico had the shoulder first and then the knee, which has kind of put him behind. And I know he hasn't had the season he wanted to have or thought he would have. What have you seen from him in terms of his work ethic throughout the season? And have you, I know he's in Slade's position group, but have you talked to him at all about kind of the season? Yeah,
matter of fact, talked to him yesterday and just told him, shared a personal story about some of my experiences. In really pushing hard for something and being on the cusp of feeling like it was time for it to happen and then it doesn't happen, but staying the course, and then eventually it worked out the way the Lord desired for it to work out. So we just had that conversation yesterday, and what I told him is, don't press, just play. Right, because a lot of times when you want something so bad, man, you can push too hard, to where you're not playing free. And so when you think that you are, you're actually not necessarily playing with the technique or the pad level to give you a chance to be successful. So just reassured him that everything happens for a reason, and had some setbacks that he wasn't anticipating as well. With the knee, nobody was anticipating that, and it takes a little bit of time when you miss practice time, especially at that point of the season. When you're kind of coming out of fall camp, those reps are critical. So it takes a little bit of time, and then you got a spotlight on you, and so it's not like you're sneaking up on anybody. They're going to have a plan for you. So when a team knows that you're the quote unquote best pass rusher, those tackles are going to be ready to play. And so just encouraged him, man, to stay the course. But what I've appreciated most is his leadership through it all. This is a guy who obviously has a lot of expectations, both externally and internally, not going the way that you want it to go, but he showed up every single day and accepted the challenge, and he just comes back to work. And he broke us down at the end of practice, and it was comforting for me as a coach and reassuring, because he's echoing the same message when he easily could have said something different. He's saying, hey, I'm staying the course. I'm just focusing on what I can control and taking it one play at a time, and we all need to do the same if we're going to change the outcome.
If you remember the wording of Jeff's question, I have the exact same question about Ben Smiley. He's a guy who's been through a lot, obviously. I know this year hasn't been quite the breakout that maybe he envisioned, but what have you seen from him and what he's been able to do?
Yeah, with Ben, and I've been probably his biggest advocate because I see a ton of potential there, but also recognizing that he hadn't played a lot of football. And then he had the setback where he was down a couple games, kind of when he was starting to hit his stride. And, so what I've seen with him is just a similar demeanor to Chico, in that he shows up every single day. He's a very, very eager guy to learn. He's also a pleaser, so he wants to do it right. And it's just a function of building that muscle memory, whereas, Chico per se played more snaps, in his career up to this point than Ben had. And so seeing progress, I think he and I and Coach Slade, just wanted to kind of fully click in. And I think you saw it up in North Carolina, his best game. But we just got to continue to work to play with a little bit more extension, right? Because, man, he's such a violent guy. Fast guy. Sometimes he gives himself up too easy by going down the middle of the blocker, and so we're really just trying to work on some of the fine points. We got the effort where it needs to be. There's no question about that. Now we just got to clean up, his hand placement and his extension, so that he can keep his eyes out of the middle of the tackle, so he can see and react a little bit quicker.
And then Aaron Famui was a guy who early in his career, obviously a lot of potential, but a lot of 15-yard penalties, a lot of discipline issues, and he plays with a lot of motion, which is a good thing at times when controlled. What have you seen from this older, more mature version of him, and what have you thought of his kind of development?
Man, super proud of Aaron. He was a guy that, when I first got here, he was kind of one of the guys who's like, all right, I need to tread lightly with this guy because we don't quite know each other. And, he kind of looks at you, and he's got that demeanor and just kind of the way he looks, though. He's got a little bit of a scowl on his face, so you don't know what he's thinking. And I'm like, all right, I don't know this guy, so I need to make sure that I choose my words and then the right way. Then you see him on the practice field, you're like, man, this guy loves to play, but we got to make sure that we channel it during the proper times. And what I've seen is I've had him up in front of the team now, about 4 different times to just give a word of encouragement. And each week that he gets up there, man, he's more and more comfortable. He's starting to open up to the guys. He's married, he has a son, and so you've seen a little bit of the transformation. He didn't believe it when I told him. I said, look, man, as soon as you see that baby boy come into the world, right, your life is going to instantly change. Like, nah, Coach, that's not going to happen. I said, now I ask him, right? And I pick at him a little bit, too. I was like, you know what? I bet you're getting sugar from head to foot, aren't you? Because before he was like, nah, I'm a big, tough guy. But then when you have that son, man, it makes you melt. And so what I'm seeing is just a lot of maturity, out of him, and trusting Coach Downing, trusting myself that, hey, we're not trying to take away what makes you special. What we're trying to do is we're trying to teach you how to play with it at the right time so that you don't waste it, right? So don't waste any energy in between plays, right? Getting into a jawing match and a pushing and shoving. man, I need you to focus for 4 to 6 seconds, right? And then after that, when the whistle's blown, get your eyes to the sideline, regroup so that you can give maximum effort, and don't let anybody, walk through your mind with dirty feet, so to speak, is what I like to tell them. He who angers you owns you, right? So don't give it to your opponent, other than when the ball is snapped until that whistle's blown. That's when you be Aaron Famui. In between plays, I need you to be a leader, your body language, because everybody's watching you, and they're going to take their cue from you.
As successful as Malik has been this season, how are other defenses trying to take him away from you, and how much of a challenge is that for you and Des to try to use him more and make him stay effective?
Right. Defenses are not letting them get behind for the most part. So it's forcing Des and the staff to move them around a lot. To try to make sure that we don't put him in a stationary place to where they can kind of hone in on where he is. So you see him in a lot of short motions. We're also having to do more play action stuff to try and spring him, on some move the pocket stuff so he can run away from people. So each week it's gonna be a challenge. It's good to see Malachi, continue to make plays, because I think that helps when you have those two guys, because then you can kind of make them make a decision on which one that you want to take away. And the next challenge for us is not so much with Malik, is it's, okay, who's going to be the third guy, that's going to step up. And if we can get that third receiver to really, really come on, and then now you really balance out the field, and then more production you have from the tight end position, then you're able to take a little bit of the focus off of Malik. But you're seeing people, they're not letting them get behind. They're trying to force everything in front, and then see can they rally and make a play and tackle them.
You haven't won a home ACC game yet. What kind of emphasis are you putting on that, on defending your home turf?
Oh man, huge. It's how we started the week, and for us, we talk about the windshield mentality, and I know a lot of different people talk about it, but it's focusing on what's ahead, and what's ahead for us is time, words, and opportunity has been our theme since the bye week, and I also put up on that windshield, because we have a graphic, first ACC home win. In 2 years we haven't won an ACC game at home, and it's time. And if we're going to take the next step as a program, then you got to start with defending your home turf, right? Especially when you have your fans, your crowd, you're used to the environment, the routine inside and out in terms of the preparation process. You got to defend your home turf. So it's a big point of emphasis, and was one of the things that was put in front of them, from the opening meeting. The first thing they saw on Monday morning, before they heard anything come out of my mouth, was they saw that first ACC win at home.
And then the ACC released their new football schedule model. You obviously have a lot of freshmen, so do you feel the need to kind of address that with the team about how the future is going to look?
haven't had a chance or a thought about it, to be honest with you. I saw all of the information that came out, and appreciate all the work that the folks down in Charlotte at the ACC office, put in putting that model together, and took a peek at it. But man, I'm focused on Georgia Tech, and until everything is set in stone, obviously we kind of know the 4 at home, the 4 on the road. We don't know the rest of it. Don't want to put that in front of the guys. They got more than enough to worry about in this bunch from Georgia Tech that's coming in here.
You talk a lot about focusing in on the details, honing in on is that almost a skill you have to develop, or how challenging is it to just stay locked in that moment on the details that you've focused on for so long?
It's tough. I think about my phone, right? Like think about throughout the course of the day, how many times do you just tap your phone to see if you got a text message, right? Much less it hasn't buzzed, but you're checking to see, has somebody reached out to me, right? So I think in our everyday lives, man, we got so many distractions. So it's a mindset more so than a skill. And we've been going through the book Training Camp by John Gordon, and talking about the 11 characteristics of the best. And number 5 was zoom focus, right? Being able to zoom focus. And I think that one of the challenges, right, for myself in dealing with the younger generations is, I was kind of raised hey, sit down and be still a little bit, right? Like just chill out for a little while. Whereas, man, they're constantly stimulated, right? They're constantly, and they can multitask. I don't even know how they do it, right? I mean, literally, like I watch my boys, they're 10 and 8, and they'll have the TV on, the iPad, headphones on, and somehow they can hear everything and do everything. I'm like, I don't know how you guys do it, right? But for them in this game, it is a game of inches, and you have to be able to focus. And that's the key, and that was the message after practice today is man, we've been in some 4-quarter games, and they've come down to the last play, the last drive, and it's about 4 or 5 plays, and you never know when those plays are gonna come, so you have to be able to focus in and play out. So it's a mindset first and foremost, and it's getting the guys to understand that, hey, there's a time when you want to have a lot of stuff, going on and operating, but then there's other times where you got to be able to just lock in and focus, because you never know. And we look at going back and looking at the game, we had 6 trips to the red zone. We have 2 touchdowns and 4 field goals. Man, happy for every point, right? The objective is every time you get in the red zone, you want to score points, right? But you want to score more touchdowns than you do field goals. And when you look at it, man, I'm thinking about one play in particular. Man, Mike pops open on a wheel route. Man, it's a walk-in touchdown. Man, the snap's a little bit low, right? So the quarterback's eyes have to come off of it to go down to get the snap. By the time he comes back up, right, he's got a little bit of pressure in his face. The timing is off. Man, it's a game of inches, and nobody's trying, right, to have a play where they're not successful, but it's just a game of inches, and you have to focus, play in and play out, and that's been consistent, and one of the things that I try to do is obviously lean on my experience, the things that I've personally experienced, also the places where I've looked to try to get confirmation on the things that I'm teaching, and then I try to validate it by having a lot of different voices, so to speak. And today we were talking about the New Zealand All Blacks, and I've quoted them in the past in the book Legacy. And we, for those who don't know, it's the winningest percentage-wise. I think the 77% win percentage since 1903. So it's the most successful sports franchise in the world, and it's about the little things. And they start with cleaning up the locker room, right? And so just trying to get these guys mindset-wise to understand that football, things may change, but there's going to be some things about this game that are never going to change. And at the end of the day, when you're trying to win a one-on-one matchup against another person, right, that wants the same thing that you want, it's going to come down to your fundamentals under pressure, and that's just being detail-oriented.
You have played 10 true freshmen this year, and several of them have been in prominent roles like Cam. Are there guys in that class who have either played very little or who have not yet played, who have caught your eye in practice and you think have bright futures?
Right. So we're at that point in the season where we got 4 games left, and with the red shirt rule and being able to play guys in 4 without burning the year, we're constantly having discussion about where guys are. Some have already crossed that threshold, like a Cam, so there's no more discussion on whether or not he'd be a guy. But you got a guy like Jason Hammond, who played, about 8-10 snaps this past week, that's played in a couple games. So now we got to make the decision on, okay, is he a guy that we try to, just turn loose for the remaining 4, which probably be his situation, man. We need to get some productivity out of him, and he flashed, and he showed some things. And he's at a point now where we feel a lot more confident. Anthony Britton's another one, that's kind of on that threshold where we need to get some experience out of him as well. And, Tyleric is another guy that we want to take advantage of his time. Titus would be one. He's been banged up a little bit. So in terms of how much we can get out of him down the stretch, I don't know. There's a couple of other guys that have been more in a role where they're servicing the defense or offense respectively on the scout team, that if the opportunity permits itself, but the guys that are on my radar for sure are the two D linemen there that I just mentioned, Britton and Hammond. Would like to see what we can get out of Devin Clark and Trent Baker Booker. Those are guys that have shown me, and it may be just be on special teams. But those are the 4 guys right now off the top of my head. Xavier Brown would be another guy that we're going to try and see how we can incorporate him. Obviously, he's in a situation where there's a lot of depth. but he's a guy that can provide us, even though I know he's not a freshman per se, but we want to take advantage of because where he is now with the elbow, we feel like he's in a good position.
As far as injury, Sackett-Wood missed
Yeah.
against Miami. Is he ready to go? And also Dre Walker, how close is he?
Yeah, so Dre Walker was cleared to go last week, but having missed so much practice time and then only playing 54 snaps on defense, it just was we were better served to go with the older guys. But he'll be cleared and ready to go and looks good. Sackett probably won't make it back this week, because he's got two things going on. So he's dealing with the knee and the shoulder, and so just doesn't make sense to rush him back. We need to give him a little bit more time. Rollins was a guy that kind of got through the week and then was able to play on game day. So we expect that he'll be back fully healthy and turned loose. Sedarian wasn't with us last week. He's back practicing, so he'll be more of a game time decision on where he is.
You started Blake Steen at right tackle. What did you notice about him in the recruiting process? And I guess what'd you say to him? Because he said he felt a lot of schools were after him because of his brother. What'd you guys see that you wanted him particularly?
Yeah, so obviously comes from a very athletic family and have a relationship with the coaches down there at his school, and they felt like he had a tremendous amount of upside. Maybe at that stage in his career, probably the most upside of the brothers. So felt good about their assessment. Obviously, is a big guy. You can't coach size. He's the younger brother, so he's gonna have some toughness to him. Especially when you got some older brothers that play in the trenches, they're gonna make you tough. And for us, we told them from the get-go that we're recruiting you separate from your brother. This isn't a situation that we'd love to have both of you, right? But we're recruiting you guys independent of each other.
And I guess just your willingness to change personnel on the O-line. You guys have shuffled throughout the year. Is that rare? Sometimes you stick with 5 all year. You guys might not be able to have that luxury. Has it helped you?
I think that that's to be determined, in terms of the last part of that question. But I think what it does is it forces competition, right? It forces the guys to show up every single day, and I think it creates a lot of a trust and a strong bond between the position coach when they know that the guy that's getting it done is going to be the guy that's going to be rewarded. And in Jimmy's situation, in fairness to Jimmy, man, Jimmy's trying to do everything he can and still not fully healthy from the knee. He's battling, giving us everything that he can. And then Ugana, is battling. We've asked him to play 2 different spots. And then, Ty started off in a good spot and then kind of, was struggling a little bit. Now he's back playing, some of his best football. So, for us, man, we're trying to find, the best 5 on that day that give us the best opportunity to be successful. But I think they all know that if we come to work every single day and we're productive in practice, then, we're going to have an opportunity to be able to show what we can do in the game.
In terms of size and speed, J.R. Wilson appears to have a lot going for him. What has kept him from becoming that third wideout you're looking for?
Yeah, I got to remind myself, his situation. He's a kid that was a basketball kid early on in his career, and then he hurts his knee senior year of high school, so kind of missed some time there. And then was last year was a first year playing behind some really talented guys, so not quite as much experience. And the biggest thing for him is just experience, right? As soon as he continues to gain confidence through experience, I think you're going to see a guy that's got probably. And I don't want to put this kind of pressure on him, but just in fairness to the question that you asked, he's probably got the most upside of any of the guys in the room, because he's a legit 6'3.5" to 6'4". Man, he's got arms that touch the ground. He runs well, but what you're seeing is still some of the receiver movements. He's still learning them, and to play fast at that position and to play confident. And when you look at the position, and I can speak to it because I played it, catching the ball is not the most natural thing, right? Like if you can just test somebody's natural ability, you throw something at them real quick, and like the guys that have it, boom, they can do that. Other guys, they have to learn how to make it a very natural movement. And then you got to run fast, stop on a dime, do all those kind of things. And so I think it's just a matter of, man, him gaining experience. And then, he wants to do well, and he knows that his team needs him, putting a little bit of too much pressure on himself and trying to do too much too fast, and just focus on what you can control. Pick one thing each day to get better at, and then when you have a little bit of adversity, don't get too down on yourself, man. Just chalk it up to, it's an opportunity to learn. It's not failure, right? It's a learning opportunity, and I think it's just going to be a matter of time. But also considering that he didn't play the position, as long as some of these other guys have.
You guys did a real good job pressuring Drake May in the Carolina game. No sacks in the Miami game. What did you see? How would you evaluate first the D-line getting pressure and then the blitz package?
Yeah, great question. So obviously their line is a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, and they were running the ball a little bit, trying to lead with the run. I thought Van Dyke did a good job of trying to get the ball out, and dump it off, where Drake's gonna kind of prolong a play a little bit. He'll move around a little bit, buy a little bit of time. Sometimes he's really decisive and he'll take off and he'll go. Other times he'll try to move around and gives you an opportunity for your rush to catch up. Blitz-wise, I thought that we had a little bit more precision with some of our timing and our spacing on our twists the previous game. And with this group that we just played, if you're late, right, they're going to be able to swallow you up. And then I think you also saw, we were down the middle of the tackle a little bit more than we were the previous week, and we weren't quite getting on edges. And then when you get on edges, then you can kind of condense the pocket and then force the quarterback to hitch a couple times and have to get off the spot, which allows other guys to be able to generate some pressure. So I think it was a function of their length, showed up, and their size, especially at tackle. When you look at those two tackles that they have, Rivers and the freshman that they have are really long, really big. Our precision wasn't quite where it needed to be. And then I thought the quarterback, at times, found a place to get rid of the ball and wasn't going to sit back there and hold it too long.
And then spinning forward, Jim's notes point out that Georgia Tech's been pretty effective protecting their quarterback.
Yeah,
what do you see from their front and their protection?
Yeah, they do a good job with their quick game. They get the ball out, they get it in space. Man, they motion and they shift in motion, right, to kind of slow everybody down. Kind of slows down the pass rush there because there's a lot of communication. Their quarterback is athletic. He's a lot more athletic than people want to give him credit for. Like, he can run. And he's not trying to sit back there and hold on to the ball, and then they incorporate their play action, so they'll move the pocket. So, they got a really good scheme, and their guys have a lot of confidence, and so they have ways to protect the quarterback in unconventional ways, as opposed to just sitting back there and trying to drop back. They're going to get the ball out quick. They're going to move the pocket, right? They're going to dump the ball down when they need to, and then they're going to move and buy some more time on some of their play action stuff.
Take our last question from Jerry.
What's the beauty of your outside zone running philosophy?
Yeah, so and I have to give credit to Dez because he's a wide zone guy. I cut my teeth as a coordinator off of the tight zone. I was a tight zone counter guy, so a lot of my stuff was focused between the tackles, and I was always curious about it. But the beauty of it is it creates space. Right. Whereas when you're running tight zone or you're running counter, man, you're kind of boxed in with those tackles, right? And it's a lot of double teams, right? And you're trying to create a new line of scrimmage. Whereas on the wide zone, man, you get guys running, right? You get guys running, and then the linebackers, they can't just come flat downhill, right? They got to kind of scrape over the top. It creates some bigger gaps, right? It causes misfits by the safeties, and I'll say it's a risk reward type of scheme in that, man, you're a lot more one-on-one blocks, right? So there's a lot more opportunity for a potential negative play. But I think because of the space, it allows for the greater opportunity for the bigger plays, right? Or the more consistent chunk plays, as opposed to with the tight zone, man, you got to fit it up just right. Your back's got to see it just right, And then you also can get gapped out. So what I like about it is it gets guys running. It also, challenges the D-line too, right? Because they can't just come off the ball, right? They got to be ready to run, or they can get cut out of their gap. And if they get cut out of their gap, then now that's a lot on a linebacker or a safety. And if they get cut out their gap, and then the safety or the backer doesn't fit it right, then it's a big play. So that's what I really like about the wide zone.
And as Georgia Tech's receivers, are they the fastest you've probably seen this year?
They can run. Right, they definitely can run. They play fast. Obviously, they run really well, but they also play fast, and you can see, big difference in, man, the guys are a lot more confident, man, they're playing faster, and they do a really good job, too, of getting those guys in space and allowing them to get the ball in their hands and moving as opposed to being stationary and letting people converge on them for the tackle.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, appreciate it. All right, happy Halloween.